Kimmy Kamerer. All right, here we go. We'll get through this, I promise.
No worries. I'm here till Saturday.
Hopefully we'll get it done by then.
I'm teasing you.
All right. Good afternoon. Thanks for being here. Today is April the 26th, 2023. We are at the annual NAC, hosted by the Department of Veteran Affairs. I will be interviewing Miss Kimmy Kamerer for this. The interview we'll be conducting here. We're just going to be going over some brief questions, learn a little bit about yourself. And hopefully someday down the road, your family or friends will be able to look at this and reflect of what a good person you are and all the great things that you've done. So first off, could you tell me a little bit about your childhood, where you were born, where you grew up, and maybe a little bit about your early education?
Well, I was born in Kernersville, North Carolina. Actually, the hospital was Winston-Salem. It's in the Piedmont Triad.
Oh, wow.
Between Winston-Salem and Greensboro. And I was born in 1965. Or excuse me, I gave you the wrong year. Can we start over? What did I say, 65? I was born in 1967. And, I went to high school. And during high school there, I did a stint where I went into the Career Center. And one of the things I was most interested in is healthcare. So I was a healthcare student.
Okay.
And actually was part of a bigger organization with the students. It was called HOSA, and it was Healthcare Students of America. And we were able to go and do little rotations. We went to the veterinarian and did a rotation, sterilization, different doctors' offices. And, I just really found that I loved healthcare. So I really wanted to go in and be a nurse. So I never really had a big desire to be in the military at all. But, as I started to graduate, it's like, well, what do I want to do? Do I want to go to college? And I was probably in a situation that I didn't necessarily, I could have went to college and it been paid for.
Sure.
But I've always been an independent kind of person and wanted to do it myself.
I feel you there. I had the Florida prepaid. I already had a 4-year done, and I still went for the service. So
yeah, and then my dad said, have you considered the Air Force? He was in the Air Force.
Okay.
Have you considered it? And I said no. And I started talking to a recruiter, and next thing I knew.
What'd your dad do in the Air Force? Was he World War II or Vietnam era?
He was Vietnam.
Okay.
He was a MP.
Oh.
And his father passed away, and his mother back in Arkansas, needed him to come back and help her provide for the family at that point. But he was in for about 2 years as an MP and loved it. I don't think that it ever left him.
It usually doesn't leave us. Not typically. Mm-hmm. So would you say that was maybe your father's experience, to like your motivation to join the military? You think that might have came from family members or just wanting to serve?
It was my dad mostly, because he's the only person I knew. Fort Bragg, it's a couple hours away from where we were.
Sure.
But really didn't know anyone that was necessarily, or I didn't realize I knew them, that was in the military. And, just being as independent as I was,
sure.
I thought, well, I can go and be in healthcare, travel the world, and, still serve my country. So that's what I decided
good reasons.
to do.
Now, why the Air Force?
He was in the Air Force, and he said the amenities were much nicer in the Air Force.
Well, he didn't want you to join the Army or the Marines, huh?
Yes.
Air Force. It's a good choice. They always had the best dining facilities.
Yes.
Even in combat zones.
Midnight chow was it?
Oh, absolutely. So were you a part of any conflict, any wars? Did you serve maybe Desert Storm or anything after 9/11 or?
Well, I graduated in June of 1985, and I came into the Air Force in October of 1985.
Okay.
I went to Shepherd Air Force Base after Lackland.
Sure.
And became a medic.
Oh, wow.
And then my first assignment was at Lackland Air Force Base.
Okay.
And there I worked labor and delivery.
Oh, wow.
And that was really huge as an 18-year-old to be working labor and delivery, because we learned to scrub and we did all of our C-sections,
Sure.
other women's surgeries.
Oh, wow.
So, I felt like, I had jumped from, high school to this without necessarily as much education as it would have taken to be a nurse. But, the Wilford Hall was, back in the day, it was a 1,000-bed hospital.
Oh, wow.
And, it was anybody that had any problems with their pregnancies or
Sure.
anything else came to Wilford Hall. So I was able to see a lot of different, have a lot of different experiences there.
Now I have to ask you, 1985 was about when you served?
Yes.
Now, help me refresh my history. Wasn't that kind of at the height of the Cold War? We were
It
fighting
was.
with Russia?
It was. And
Did that play a factor in you wanting to serve? Because kind of got history almost repeating itself with issues that are going on globally.
well, like I said, I just really, I wanted to be a part of it.
Sure.
A part of, but it was a Cold War at that point.
And you want to be a part of the big picture, kind of help support any way you could, right?
Absolutely.
That's
and especially being a female,
Sure.
I wanted to be a female that was empowered.
Wonderful.
And I feel like I did that. And I was able to, during Gulf War, I went to, my first assignment, I said, was at Lackland Air Force Base. And then I think it was 1989, I went to Eglin Air Force Base.
Okay.
And from there, we deployed. We went for Desert Storm. And during that time, I went to Nocton Hall, which was in England.
Oh, wow.
And we were supposed to set up a contingency hospital there and then forward deploy.
Sure.
When we were in England, it was in January, so it was very cold. And we had our chem bags. We had a C bag, but however, we did not have an A bag. So by the time they got us our A bags to adapt to the cold,
sure,
the war was over. We'd had the opportunity to set up a sick call for the RAF. We worked a lot with the RAF. And, we got sent back home. I was probably gone about a month and a half during the Gulf War. So I remember it was hard to get out of Eglin because, we would get ready. They would say, okay, you're going tonight.
Wow.
Your chalk, this is when you're going.
Wow.
And you would get even to the flight line. I mean, this happened like 3 times.
And they cancel it.
We would get there and then say, nope, something else took priority or,
Hurry up and wait.
Yes. But, I just remember it being very emotional because you tell your family goodbye.
And then you're not leaving.
It's like, I'm back. I remember some people even needing rides back home.
Oh, wow.
Because their family had left.
Well, that's just the nature of our military. We always have to be ready and have contingency plans. And even though y'all were planning for sick call for an operation that was probably y'all thought was going to last a lot longer than a few months, which we're glad it only lasted a few months.
Absolutely. And it was just a temporary stop, just to get it up and rolling.
Sure.
So the RAF could take, control of that. And then we were to forward to deploy into Saudi.
I had an uncle. My wife's, he was an uncle. He was deployed in the Army, and he was a part of a water treatment team that was sent over to Saudi Arabia. So just like that movie with Pauly Shore, you remember that one?
Maybe.
In the Army now?
Tell me a little more.
Well,
yes.
Well, the funny thing is that's actually what this guy's job was back then. So we actually went over there and made clean water. But that's very interesting. So
I got kind of used to drinking ropey water for a while.
I'm surprised I'm still kicking with the amount of things that I've drank in the military. So is there a fond or a vivid memory that you have during your service that you'll never forget? This could be a good memory that you'd like to share. And, I do caution if there's any memories that could provoke trauma or any bad experiences that some of us had in the military.
I just, I was always an adrenaline junkie.
Sure.
Starting out in labor and delivery, I later went into the emergency department.
Oh, wow.
And I think the most valuable thing and fond memories I have is just the relationships between, my team, people that I worked with. Then also, the patients.
Sure.
When I mentioned I was at Wilford Hall, we had history. History was there.
Yeah.
And it was before TRICARE, and you were able to sit at the bedside and, talk with veterans, hear their stories. And it was just fabulous to get to know this. And gosh, some of the people that their stories are just unbelievable. And it's like, they're the heroes.
And you're bringing humans into the world, which I think is a pretty fascinating story too, all on its own. So
yes, I've been in many deliveries, and I do remember at Eglin in the emergency department, since I did have such a background in labor and delivery. We had a lady that came in and she was delivering in the car, and we rushed out with all of our things, and I kind of pushed the doc out of the way. Got this, and I delivered the baby.
Wow.
So that was a lot of fun.
Very amazing. We have 3 children. I was there for all 3, so it was. Yeah. I don't think I could do what y'all do. I'll just leave it at that. Now, what would you say would be maybe the best part of your service experience? Would it maybe be the interactions with the patients, or maybe delivering the babies, or what do you think?
I think just the experiences all together that made me the woman that I am. You know,
Sure.
I'm where I want to be because I want to be there.
Yeah.
It's not because I need to be there. And I think
Sure.
that's important,
Yeah.
especially with a lot of women. I tell a lot of the ladies that work for me now,
Yeah.
be in a situation because you want to be there, not
Right.
because you have to be there.
That's
And
really good advice.
thank you.
Yeah, I think the last individual we interviewed, same thing. The service really kind of, even myself, shaped me of the man I am today. Even though I had a really great foundation with my upbringing, the military service reinforced that, and it helped build that confidence that maybe, when we're young folks, we don't maybe have that confidence.
Yeah, I know when I went in, I didn't know what I was really getting into at
Yeah.
first, but I sure am glad I did it. And I didn't go in saying I'm going to spend 24 years in the service.
Right.
I went and said, no, I'll do this 4 years.
Right.
And then the end of that, okay, that was fun. Let's do another 4 years. And then it just,
Then you get hooked on it, and then you're maybe wanting that next promotion, or maybe you don't feel like you're completed with the task that you were trying to do, or
yeah, just love the growth and the experiences for sure.
so that goes into the next question. So you said you did 24 years?
Yes.
Oh, wow. So this question is kind of talking about maybe some awards or recognitions or citations that we got throughout our service. Was there anyone that stood out? I'm sure you probably earned a lot with 24 years.
Yes, I always was nominated for quite a few of, Airman of the Month,
Oh, wow.
NCO of the Month. I remember I was the Sarah P. Wells winner, and that was an award in healthcare
Oh, okay.
that I got, and I was at what was I? I think I was at Davis Monthan when I received that. No, excuse me, I was in Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska.
Okay.
And I received that, and that was just a very prestigious award.
Sure.
To be able to receive.
Kind of stood out amongst your peers to be recognized,
yes,
right?
Yes. So it was in the career field too. So,
oh, wow.
It wasn't just the locals.
Not just your unit, just the whole.
Yeah, it was the whole medical service.
That's great. My first tour in Afghanistan, I went for the NCO, the board, to get NCO of the year. But the only reason I did it was they said they'd send you to Qatar for 4 days so you can drink alcohol, because we didn't have alcohol in Afghanistan. But I did win it, by the way.
Good.
Maybe my motivations were a little, not where they should have been.
But it worked out.
It worked out. Yeah. So, what were some of your favorite? What are you currently doing now? So what's your role at the VA right now?
Well, when I retired in 2009, I was on my way to our retirement ceremony, and I turned in an application at NHR to be a PSA in voluntary service.
Okay, wow.
And I had before that interviewed to be one of the respite specialists.
Okay.
But I was still on active duty, and they had hired someone they had worked with that was in the recreation department for a while as a recreation therapist. So I still remember reading and studying, the mission of voluntary service at the time. And I had made a connection with Deborah Brookshire. She was the chief at the time. And I just really wanted to be a part of that. So I turned in the application. Right. 2 months later, HR called and said, would you like to accept this position? I had forgotten that I'd applied. But I said, of course. So I started, and, I've been in every position in voluntary service. And now it's the Center for Development and Civic Engagement.
Sure.
So I went through many changes with it over the last 15 years. And I've been the PSA, I've been the specialist, I've been the assistant chief, and now I'm honored to be the chief. So
it sounds like you're the right person for the job.
I love what I do. I mean, I love working with our volunteers. I love working with other people. So it's just fabulous.
Natural progression, huh?
Yeah, and I feel like too, being in the medical career field in the military, it was like a family, just like CDC is.
Sure. So what are some hobbies that you enjoy when you're not at work?
Well, I have golden retrievers, so anybody that knows me, they tell me at work I'm not supposed to have my favorite volunteers, but my Pets for Vet teams have a dear spot in my heart. So I have 2 golden retrievers, and we have a cabin up in the White Mountains, so we like to go up there and do hiking and fishing, and side by side we quad a bit, so still have that little adrenaline side in me.
That's good. So here's one. What is an amazing once-in-a-lifetime experience that you've had that was outside of military service?
Gosh, I've been in the military just about all my life.
I know.
I was only a civilian for like 2 months, and then I became VA, and it's the same.
All right. Well, all right. Let's reframe the question. Please share with us an amazing lifetime experience that you've had.
I think it's being in the military, honestly.
Just the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, delivering a baby. I've, went out with the Army and been one deep as their medic and convoys.
Sure.
Just the people. The people is the most amazing experience I've had.
There's less than 1% of our population as Americans that serve in the military. So when I share with veterans that are maybe down in the dumps or felt sorry for themselves, I remind them of that. And just let them know, we're part of this family as a military, retired, active, that is 99% of the other folks either can't or unwilling to do. So that's how kind of helped me through some hard times I've been through, to reframe that thinking. So it is an experience, absolutely, that a lot of other people don't get.
Right.
Okay, so I think we kind of talked about this, but I'll read the question anyways. How did or does your military experience affect your life?
Well, I think it makes me a strong, independent person. I feel very well grounded.
Sure.
I know that not to work in silos. It takes a team. It takes everybody, and we all have something to offer.
No I in team, right?
That's absolutely the truth. So,
what are some life lessons you learned from your military service?
If you say you're going to do something, do something. If you have a conviction,
sure,
stick to it. Don't let other people sway how you feel.
That's the previous person we interviewed said almost the exact same thing, and I was sharing that that's actually my love language. Not that I'm saying I'm in love with you or anything, but there's different love languages.
I'm disappointed.
Well,
I'm teasing.
There's a book that was written, and they talk about love languages, and people following through with their commitments is a part of that language. It's about communication, and now that I'm connecting the dots, that really does, because that's who I am. And if someone says they're going to do something, they need to follow through with it, right? And we learn that in the military, because when we don't do our job, there's consequences, and some could be bad, like somebody getting hurt or dying.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's a very good answer. I'm seeing a theme here, and it's a good theme. What are some things that you miss about being in the service? And is there anything that you're glad you left behind?
Well, I miss the deployments, and I miss some of the people that I worked with, before, especially in the emergency department. I mean, that was just such a band, because we went through so many bad things.
Yeah,
I mean,
it brings people together, right?
A lot of trauma that we went through together. So I miss that. And I know if you were to ever go back and say, I want to work in the emergency room again and feel that again, you can't.
Right.
It's a moment in time that you have. But some of the things I don't miss having to pin my hair up. I don't miss having to carry a black purse.
I think they got rid of those standards. Just so
they have.
I think you can do whatever you want to.
A little bit now. So, yeah, I don't miss that necessarily, but I do miss the structure, and I do realize that the structure was very important.
Definitely is. Goes back to that team.
Yes.
So, all right. So we're gonna go into the conclusion portion of our interview, and I think these are very good questions, by the way. What do you wish more people who are non-veterans, or maybe folks that I consider patriots, like people that they're not veterans or patriots, so to speak. Patriots understand us.
Sure.
There are veteran service organizations. For those that are maybe part of the 99% that don't understand us, what would you want them to know about us and about your service?
Just just how close we are. I mean, I just met you today.
Sure.
That I feel connected to you.
We do have that connection.
Because of the service.
Sure.
And, just all the sacrifices. And it's not just, for the military member, it's for the families.
Sure.
That going back to mom and dad.
Sure.
Your husband, your wives, your children.
Absolutely.
And it's a huge sacrifice. And, just not to disrespect, what so many have fought for to give us our freedoms.
Absolutely. Because there's always been prior veterans before us.
Yes, we stand on their shoulders. There's
a really good picture, I'm sure you've seen it, of the person standing on the grass, and it has all the soldiers underneath it holding it up. Mm-hmm. It's a very, very powerful message there. Okay, so again, what message would you like to leave for our future generations who may see this interview?
I just loved what I did.
I think a lot of us feel that way. And the last question, is there anything that you'd like to add that maybe wasn't covered in the interview? Any parting words, words of wisdom? You have so much of it. Incredible.
Well, thank you. Just do, if I had advice, it's just do what you love. Go with your heart,
Sure.
and if you do that, you don't work a day in your life. So I think it's important to not just be self-absorbed,
Right.
care about each other, and give everybody a chance because everybody has something to offer.
There's a job for everybody.
Yes.
Well, that's really, really good. And I concur with you. I think the experience that I have in my life with the military has led me to the position that I am as assistant chief. And I make it a point for my employees, I let them know, voluntary service, it's not just the name. We're volunteering and we're providing service, just like in the military. Because we were a part of a volunteer service, a volunteer military at the time.
Yes.
We weren't forced to do it. Unfortunately, there was a time that people were, but they're still part of our family too.
Mm-hmm.
So
I just love the partnerships that we have now with the community, and building, it's a matter of, not what we can't do, but how can we do this?
sure.
So,
It's finding a way to overcome those obstacles and barriers, right?
yes.
And that's what makes our job so unique and challenging at times.
And fun and rewarding.
It is, absolutely. I love it when I can put out a good fire.
Yes.
I think we need to put on our job description, our position description needs to be firefighter. Because we put out fires all day long, don't we?
We sure do. We sure do. Some days I don't get anything. Well, I'm busy all day, but I don't know one task that I quite finished that I can just check off. But I was busy and needed all day.
It sounds like my week. I'm rarely ever at my desk all day long. I'm pulled here, pulled there. I got to help a veteran get home because the social
Yes.
worker left for the day. And I'm staying late. But those are the challenges that I enjoy, and similar to the ones that I think we shared in our military.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
Well, that concludes our interview. I appreciate you sharing yourself with us, and glad you're here.
All right. Well, thank you. I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
All right.